What we have here is some mixed exam practice for National 5. I've got 5 quick questions here, and what we should do is just try the 5 questions and check the solutions out. Okay, this was also given out as a homework for my S3 class. Let's go ahead and answer the questions as we go along. Okay, so 5 quick questions, right? First question, let's see what we've got. Right then, so we've got the diagram shows a sector of a circle. It's centre C. Okay, it's just part of a circle we've got there. Angle ACB is 160 degrees, so that's this angle that's here. Okay, this angle. And the radius of the circle is 30 centimetres. Calculate the length of the arc AB. Okay, we'll use a calculator for this question. Probably should have said that in the question paper up above. Use a calculator if needed. Let's go ahead and we'll work this one out, okay? So I'm going to show this 2 different ways, okay? So the way I like to do it first of all, and then I'll show it the way that you may have been taught it by maybe some other teacher. But check out the way that you like it best. The way that I do it is because we use this format for some other topics in National 5, and it helps us get grounded on the technique to work this through. Right, let's go ahead. Right, so I have to calculate the length of the arc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down 3 fractions that match up with each other for this topic here. So the first thing I'm going to go for is the length of arc. And the length of arc is from A all the way around to B. And that relates as a fraction to the circumference of a circle. So that would be the circumference that will be here. So here's my first fraction. Second fraction is going to be to do with the angle, okay? So the angle, and the angle to make up a fraction is to do with the whole circle again. Okay, the whole circle will be 360 degrees as a full turn. Then we've got the area of the sector, and the area of the sector would be this area that would be here, and that would relate as a fraction to the overall circle as well. So that would be the area of a full circle. So I always start by writing out the fractions. I usually write the first one would be the question that I'm asked to try and solve so that I can work that part out. So from there, what I'd be looking to do is I'd be looking to tick the items that I've got. But generally I would write this out in a different format. And what I would say is, I would say length of arc is equal to, so the formula for the circumference is pi d. I've got the angle, so I'll just call it x over 360. Area of the sector, AOS, all over, and it's the area of a circle, and if you remember, that's pi r squared. So that's the way I would set it out. I'm going to circle the part that I've got to calculate, so I've got to calculate that, so I must use this fraction. I know here that the radius is 30, so the diameter must be 60, so I know that part down the bottom. I know the angle's 160, so I can tick that. And I know what 360 is. 360 is 360. Well, there we go. So that's me got the ticks that I can get in here. One thing I can calculate is I can calculate pi r squared because I know the radius. So I could tick that as well, but I don't know this one here. So I'm only going to use 2 of the fractions to work it out. I'm not going to use that fraction there. So I'm going to substitute my values in now. Length of arc all over pi times, and the diameter is going to be double the radius. So it's 30, so that's going to be 60. So there's my numbers going in there. The angle is 160, and that's all over 360. Okay. And then I'm going to just use a kind of short and cross multiply technique. And what I'm going to do is with the pi times 60, I'm going to multiply it up on this side over here. So that will leave me with my length of arc is equal to 160 over 360, and that's going to be times pi times 60. I've got a calculator, so I'll just fire that into the calculator. I'll use the fraction button because that might help me with that, as long as you're using a Casio calculator. 160 over 360, I'll then multiply that by pi, and multiply that again by 60, and what I should get out there is, I should get, that's 80 over 3 pi, but if I press the SD button, that should give me an answer of 83.775. Okay, so I'll write that down just now. So that's 83.7758, and there was more numbers there. I'm going to just round this to, I'll call it 1 decimal place. So that'll be 83.8. We're working in centimetres, and that would be to 1 decimal place. Okay, so that would be that question that's answered there. And remember what we've worked out, this number at the bottom, the 83.8, is the distance from A all the way around this curved edge to B. So that's what I've worked out there. Okay, so if I have another look at this, and maybe another way that you may have been taught this type of work, sometimes we work out the fraction first of all, the fraction of the circle. So we'll use the angle, which is the angle all over 360. So that would be 160 over 360. So there's the first thing that I would do there. From there I'd work out the circumference. And remember, C equals pi d, so that's going to be pi times the diameter, and the diameter is going to be 60, and if I work that out as a value, that's 188.4955, okay? And that'll be in centimetres. And then I'll bring it together. So what I'll do then is I'll say that the length of arc now is equal to the fraction times the circumference. So that'll be 160 over 360, times that by, I'll call it 188.4955. But if we look at what's here, that's already there, if you can see it in my technique there, so this one here. And then just go ahead and we calculate that through again, and that should be, let me try and work that one out. So that'll be about 83.777, I think that's going to work out to be. Then from there, we'll just round that to 1 decimal place, 83.8 centimetres to 1 decimal place. Okay, two different methods of working it out. I prefer this way here. I like it for working out the area of the circle if I have to work it out, or the circumference, given a different question. Okay, question 2. Let's go. Well, so I'll go back to question 1. We'll put some marks on this one here, okay? So for marking it, what I would say is I'll get 1 mark for writing the fraction down. So I'm going to get 1 mark there for the fraction. I'll get 1 mark for setting that part up there, okay? So if I look at it over on this side, 1 for the fraction, and we'll get 1 for setting this up like that there, fraction times the circumference. So that'll be that line down the bottom there. And 1 mark there for getting the answer. So this is going to be out of 3 marks. Right, question 2. Right, here we've got an exam question that's asking us about volume of a tin of tuna. So it's a cylinder. We won't get that in our National 5 exam. We won't get the formula for that. But there's a quick way to look at that and how to work that out. The volume, if we think about the volume of a cone, the volume of a cone, okay, volume of a cone, well, that's going to be equal to 1/3 pi r squared h, and we do get that in the exam. But this isn't a cone, okay? Why don't we just take that third away, okay? And that will leave me with the volume of a cylinder. So the volume of a cylinder is going to be equal to pi r squared h, okay? So there's one way that you can try to work that one out. Right, let's go ahead and work this one out. We're to take pi as 3.14. So I'll write that in as 3.14. I'm going to multiply it by the radius squared. Remember, the radius is half of the diameter, half of the way across the tin of tuna. So it's really from the centre there out to there. So that there's going to be half of 10, which will be 5 centimetres. So I'll times that by 5 squared, times it by the height, and the height there is 4 centimetres. Okay, there's my calculation. This will be a non-calculator question. Okay, so we've got 3.14, and if I square 5, get 25, times it by 4, and if I do this part first, that's going to make it a bit easier to work out, because 25 times 4 is 100, and then I'll multiply this number by 100 and I'll get 314. We're working in centimetres, and remember it's volume, so volume is cubic centimetres. Okay, there's my final answer. For this one here, what we'll go for is 1 mark for substituting your values in here into the correct formula, 1 mark there for getting 314, and also making sure that you include the units, the centimetres cubed. 2 marks. Right, question 3. Right, we'll move through a wee bit quicker now, okay? So I'll see if I've got a better question 3 than that one. That one's a bit of a mess. There we go. There's question 3. Okay, so solve the quadratic equation x squared minus 4x minus 6 equals 0. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. Now, I didn't give you a quadratic formula in your homework. I expected you to look it up and start from there. Right, here we go. Let's go and get this one done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the quadratic equation first of all. Okay, so it's x squared minus 4x minus 6 equals 0. So from there I can see that my a value is going to be 1, because there's a 1 sitting there. My b value is minus 4, so it's that coefficient there. And the c value is minus 6. And then I've got to get the quadratic formula. You will get this in the exam, and what it is x is equal to, and it's minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that's what your formula is going to be, and that's what you'll get given. Now I'm going to take the values of a, b and c and substitute them into the formula that I've got here, my quadratic formula. So minus b is, so it's minus whatever b value is, so that's a minus 4. So that's a minus 4, so just be really careful with that one there. I've got plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's minus 4 squared. Put it in a bracket so I don't lose that minus. And I've got a minus 4a. A is 1, so that's 4 times 1, and we're going to times it now by c, which is a minus 6 that's there. So there's a couple of things in here that could trip you up with this question. On the denominator, on the bottom, I've got 2 times a, and the a value is 1. Right, so that's my setup. So if I write that down, that's my first mark that I'm going to get in the question. Right, so let's sort this out a bit now. So on the top line, I've got minus 4, so you could have just written 4. That would have been better actually. Plus or minus the square root, and we'll work this one out. So minus 4 squared is 16. Make sure it's not minus 16. So minus 4 times minus 4 makes a positive. That'll be 16. That'll be plus here because I've got 2 minus signs multiplied together, and that'll give me 24 on the top. On the bottom, I've got 2. So from here, I'll go for 4 plus or minus the square root of 40 when I gather them together, and that's all over 2. Now I know some people have shown me this work, and what they've done is they've simplified this third down. So I'll show you what they did. They did from here, what they did was they've got 4 plus or minus, and they simplified the third by making that root 4, root 10, okay, a square number and another number, all over 2, and from there went for 4 plus or minus 2 root 10, that's all over 2, and they got 4 over 2 plus or minus 2 root 10 over 2, and what they did is they simplified that to 2 plus or minus root 10, okay, and split their answer from there. So that's what they did as a non-calculator question, because they thought it was non-calculator. If it's a calculator, what we'll do is we'll split this one here, and what we'll say is x is equal to 4 plus root 40 all over 2, and we should get an answer for that. And what we'll also do is we'll say that it's 4 minus, because that plus or minus, we've got 2 answers that come out, and there we go there. Into the calculator with it, and what we can do is just use the fraction button that's there. Fraction button, I'll go for 4, and I'm going to go plus root 40. Move the cursor down to the bottom, put a 2 on that as well. What we'll do is go to the end and equals. That says 2 root 10 there, but I'm going to press the SD button, and that should give me a decimal answer. And that one there comes out to be 5.162, and plenty more characters that are there. And for that, I've been asked to give my answer correct to 1 decimal place, so that's going to be 5.2. Okay. For the subtraction, all I'm going to do in my calculator is just move my cursor back the way. So that's down to the 2, up to the 40 root, and then I'm going to delete the positive sign and plus sign and change it to a minus. Just press equals. 2 minus root 10 was one of the answers, and that's going to be minus 1.1622. So I'll go for that's equal to minus 1.162, more characters, and then finally to 1 decimal place will be minus 1.2. Okay, and that answer there is to 1 decimal place, as I was asked in the question up above. Okay, so there's my 2 answers there for x. Okay, marks for this one, here we go. Right, so 1 mark for substituting into the formula correctly there. That minus 4 could be a plus 4, that'd be okay with that. I'll go for 1 mark for getting that there, that's called the discriminant, so I'm going to get a mark for that there. And what I'll do is I'll get 1 mark for each of these, okay? If I get the 2 of them, I'll take a mark for that. If you haven't rounded it, I'll give you 1 mark for that, okay? Right, so that's out of 4 for that question there. We'll go on to next question, okay? Right, so this question here, we've got to change the subject of the formula question. So we have to change the subject of the formula to P. Right, what we'll do is, I'm going to rewrite this round the other way because I want to have P on the left-hand side and it might make a bit more sense for me. So 3P plus 2T equals R. So that's the way I'm going to write it. So 3P plus 2T equals R. From there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what I can move first of all. So that's kind of captured there at the moment with P. I can move this from here, and the way I would do it, I would just move that straight over to that side and make it a minus 2T. That's the way I would do it. Some people would think about it as being, I'll take 2T away from that side, take 2T away from that side, and what I've got is 2T, take away 2T, that goes to 0. So that leaves me with 3P is equal to R minus 2T. But as I say, I just take it right over there. I do the opposite when I take it over the equal sign. Now here I've got 3P is equal to R minus 2T. So what I can do here is I can then divide that by 3 and I can divide that by 3. So I should have really put that in red. So that's one of the wee kind of instructions that I'm doing, dividing it by 3. So then what I've got here is P is equal to R minus 2T all over 3. And that would be my final answer there. First mark I'm going to get is for moving that, that positive 2T over there and becoming minus 2T. And the next part is for getting the 3 at the bottom and finishing off with the correct answer there. So that one there just out of 2 marks for a change the subject of the formula. Final question. Okay, so what we've got here is to solve the equation. So again, the same with the change the subject of the formula. What I would do is I'd move things about, okay? So for me, when I see this equation here, I'm going to get all my a's to the left-hand side because that's bigger than that. So the a's on the left are going to be good. So if I take that a over that side, it'll become a minus a. And if I take this 5 that's here over to that side, it'll become a minus 5 when it goes to that side. Right, so some people might think about it as I'll take away a from each side, okay? And then they'll take away 5 from each side. And what you'll get with that will be, I've got 3a here. I'm going to take away a because I've brought that over the equal sign. I've then got minus 15. So this here is a wee bit of a problem. So some people drop that minus for some reason. But that's minus 15 or negative 15 sitting there. So I need to then work with that. I'm then getting this 5, taking it over the equal sign. That'll be another minus 5 that's there. Gather things together. So that's going to give me 2a is equal to minus 20. And then I'll divide by 2. So a is equal to minus 20 all over 2. So a is equal to minus 10. And that'll be the end of that. Right, marks for this one here. Okay, so I'm going to go for 3 marks. I'm going to go for 1 mark for getting the 2a there. I'll go for 1 mark for getting minus 20. And 1 mark there for getting your final answer stating that a is equal to minus 10. So that there out of 3 marks. So if I tally up the whole of the work that we've got there, the whole of it will come to 14 marks. And there's the questions that we've attempted. So, good way to do some revision for your National 5 exam. A couple of mixed questions, some that make you have to think about how you're going to answer them. They are past exam questions. You might even see them in your prelim. So they're important questions to work through. So good luck with your National 5 over the course of the year.